Hello and welcome back to my channel. This video is a continuation of the previous video that belongs to the same series. That is a series where I talk about how the German exams look like. Now, in the previous video, it was a walkthrough of the entire examination except for the speaking part, which I'll be covering in this video. But apart from that, I had also talked about why there isn't a grammar syllabus as such for these levels, and in this video it will also be pretty obvious for you because you will get acquainted with what exactly is being tested. Now, because the entire test is in German, obviously if you are someone who has no idea about it, it will be completely alien, but that's completely fine because the point of me making this video is not for exam preparation but more of for you to get acquainted with what the exam looks like. So with that being said, once again to give you a quick recap, in the Start Deutsch A1 as well as telc Deutsch A1, we have 4 sections. We have listening test, reading test, writing test, and speaking test. And because these 2 exams are identical, in the previous video I had walked through the Start Deutsch A1 exam, and I will be continuing the same exam in this video as well. So moving on, what we have here is the listening exercise 1's sample. So as you can see here, Beispiel has been mentioned, which means that this is an example audio. Now, why is there an example audio? The reason is that not everyone goes to institutes or hires a private tutor to learn German. Some simply learn on their own, and they might not know what the exam look like. So it's mainly for them to get an idea of, okay, what this exercise is going to be like. So as you can see, we have been presented with a question here, and we have been given 3 options. We have A, B, and C. Now, based on the audio that you will be listening, you have to figure out which one of these is going to be your right answer. Now, the tricky part here is that because this exam is for adults, all the 3 numbers or at least 2 numbers will be mentioned in some other context. Like if it's a conversation about a room number, it could mention just the number 2 in the context of time, like it's 2 o'clock or it's on the 2nd floor or anything. So you need to be prepared. You need to pay attention to what's going on in the audio. It's acceptable if you don't understand the whole thing, but you're at least expected to understand what is the right answer to this question, because that's the only thing that matters to you. Then the second section is where you listen to. All right, so quick one note about this particular audio is that sometimes you get to listen to a dialogue, sometimes it might just be an announcement. So for listening exercise 1, every single audio is played twice. All right, then the second exercise is, again, you have been given a statement, you have to listen to the audio and you have to mark whether your answer is true or false. Now, the audio for these exercises are based on the live announcements that we get to listen at a supermarket or a railway station, airport, etc. So as a result, the audio clip will only be played once. So you need to be extremely alert for this. And that's the reason why, again, here an example audio is played for you to get ready that, okay, this is how the exercise will play out. And that's how you have to be alert and be attentive. Then the next section is again where the audio is played twice, but here you will notice that there is no example audio here. So the trick is that because the audio played for exercise number 1 and 2, you just assume that it may be played for exercise 3 as well, and that's how you lose your chance of paying attention to the first play of the audio, and then you have to listen again at the second time. So it's just a little bit of trick, but then if you are attentive, if you really understand how the exam structure looks like, it becomes a bit easier for you to be alert. Now, again, the audios here could be dialogues, it could be just really small conversations, or it could also be voicemails left for one person to another that you have to listen to, and you have to figure out the answer to this particular question. Now, again, because we have three options here, there is a good chance that two or three, the as in all these options will be included as a part of the audio. You just have to understand which one of these answer the question that is presented. Then the next section is of reading. So here we have an email for which again an example has been given, how you have to figure out whether this statement that is given to you is true or false. Now, one thing important to note here is that never ever start reading the email directly, because that is not what this exercise is about. Even though it says reading, it's more of reading comprehension and understanding of German language. Now, when you look at these sentences here, those of you who have learned German would easily identify the prepositions that we have here, like there are quite a lot of prepositions. But for someone who has only started learning it, it's a completely new text. So don't be intimidated. The exercise here is that how well you interpret this statement that has been given to you. Now, often this statement itself has some kind of hint in it to let you know, okay, what is happening, so that you also get an idea. But the exercise should always be that you read and understand the statement that you have to mark true or false, and then you go to the text where you try to find out either the words that have been mentioned here, or at least the synonyms of these words, or if there's any other way we could use the same word. Like I can give you an example of the word Vormittag here, which is the time between 9 to 12 o'clock. So in this text, if you notice, time has been mentioned. So understanding and learning what is what, as in from the context of vocabulary, this is how it is going to work. This is how it is going to look when you look at the exam. So while you would want to acquire as much as vocabulary possible, try to understand that this is how you will be tested. So while it is important to learn vocab, it's not ideal if you just cram or just try to memorize it just for the sake of exam. It won't be really beneficial. Then the next exercise is the reading exercise 2, where again, as you can see, I've picked the example exercise that has been marked with 0. Now, in this exercise, a condition is given to you, and based on that condition, you have to figure out whether answer A will be the better match or answer B will be the better match. So again, here it's all about understanding how a word can be used in different contexts, as well as sometimes. Now, for example, this advertisement is not mentioned here, but I'm just giving you an example of looking for a job, and as in that the condition goes that you're looking for a job and in a particular city of Germany, say Stuttgart. Now you will have two advertisements. One that is a webinar that talks about how to be more presentable at work, blah, blah, blah. And the other would talk about search for jobs in all German cities. So the previous one, the one with the seminar, it may mention the city name as well, Stuttgart, but that is not our condition, because in the other advertisement, it does mention that you can find jobs in all the German cities. So even if it doesn't mention Stuttgart, you would know that that second option will be the right answer. So that's how you need to be attentive of what is being asked of you and what exactly the advertisement is offering to you. Then the next section is sample of the reading exercise 3, where you have to interpret and understand a notice. So it's always mentioned where you are reading it so that you get a bit of context, what's happening. And based on this notice, there is a statement which you have to mark again true or false, whether the statement that has been given to you is right. or not. Then the next section is writing, where you have to fill up an incomplete form. So the information again is given in the question itself. You must not put any other information on your own. You must always follow to what has been given to you. And the last section is just writing a simple email of say approximately 30 to 40 words, while making sure that you do talk about the three topics or three phrases, three questions that have been provided to you. You must not skip any of these. You have to make sure that whatever you have written covers all these three elements as well, apart from fulfilling the conditions of the email. So this is the speaking part in Teil 1, that is the speaking test. So in the speaking test, we have three sections. This is being the first, where you have to introduce yourself with the help of these seven elements that have been given here. Even at the exam, you will be given a sheet where you will have these words written, so that while you introduce yourself, you don't skip any of these, or that you jumbled up your order. And because we are taking the exam, sorry, not taking, because we are writing the exam in India, a lot of our names, our languages would be new for the German ears. As a result, be prepared a little bit when it comes to how you spell your name, your mother tongue, or anything that you mention exclusively in your introduction. Like say, if you mention that you work at XYZ company, then be prepared that you should know how the name of that company is spelled out. Now, after you introduce yourself, there's one question asked to you where you have to spell something, what I just explained. It usually comes from the information you presented, or they could just ask you to spell any random German word, or they could ask you a question, like say, for example, if I'm introducing myself and I forgot to mention my hobby, then the examiner may ask me, what's my hobby? And as I answer it, they will ask me to answer to spell out one of the words that I just mentioned. And the other question is always about a number. So it's basically your test whether you can correctly spell out a word. Say, for example, if you don't know how to pronounce it and if you need help, you should be able to at least ask by spelling as well as knowing the numbers in German. Then the next section is about asking some question. It could be a yes no question, it could be a W question, and you responding to your partner, because when you introduce, it's always between you and the question is being asked by the examiner. But section 2 and section 3 of the speaking test deals with someone else with you who is also is a part of that particular exam room. So you have to ask the partner a question and the partner will answer, and the partner will ask you something in return. So there are 6 words. You have to pick any two and then form these two questions, and then the partner will form a question, then ask you back. Now, no matter what, never correct your partner. That is just not acceptable at all. Please don't do that. And even if you don't get the question of the partner, it's completely polite to ask the partner if they can repeat the question in German, obviously, as well as so that they get some time to rearrange, because genuinely you didn't understand what they asked. But if you are doing it on purpose, then the examiner will know, because the examiner also speaks German. So if you're trying to cheat your way out of it, they would know immediately what you're going to do. So please don't do that. So if even if their German question is a little bit brokey, it's fine as long as you respond the right way. Even if it's broken a little bit, it's completely fine as long as you answer it correctly. And then comes the third section and the last section of the speaking test, where you have to form a request, and someone, as in your partner, will react to that request, as well as the partner will make a request and you have to react to it. Now here I have just used pictures because that is what the speaking 3 is about. In the previous section, while we have been given a word, we have also been given a theme. So whatever question you form, it has to be relevant to the theme. But in this section, it's a picture that is being put. So you need to know the article of this now of the picture. You need to know exactly what it's called. And sometimes you also may get a picture that has this sign on it indicating that you shouldn't do something. So if it's an ice cream, then you can just form a request like, please don't eat an ice cream. Whether it's happening in the real life or not, it's irrelevant. It's all about forming a request. So that will be it for today. If you have any more questions, feel free to let me know. And if there's anything that I should have mentioned, please comment it down. I'll be linking you this particular test, which I also did in the previous video. And I hope now you get to see how it's not only about the grammar and the vocab. You are being tested. I wouldn't say that you aren't being tested at all, but it's you being tested passively, which means that in order to prepare yourself better for the test, it's very important that you indulge in German media, be it TV shows or movies or songs or episodes of series or just reading storybooks. So as a part of all my courses, what I do is that I do offer a bunch of audiobooks. For A1, A2, I offered 10 to 15 audiobooks just for the students so that as we learn and continue with the course, they also get to read German outside of the textbook, the course books, and that they can enjoy learning the process of German. So with that, I'll take your leave and I'll see you soon. Bye.